let's bring in for more on this George Fominyen, who is from the World Food Programme. George, thank you very much for being with us. The report really spelling out the extent of the problems. How serious do you think this is, this threat of famine caused by the ongoing coronavirus crisis?
What we're estimating here is that we are probably going to see a sort of silent hunger pandemic, because the crisis threatens to become a global humanitarian catastrophe, because you're talking about something that's an addition onto other. So you already have conflict-driven hunger that is making a lot of people hungry already. Then you've got people who face hunger as a result of climate shocks, and if you add all of that, you bring in disease such as this global pandemic, it can be really difficult for a lot of people.
The people who are already suffering, those who are poor, those who are living in conflict zones, as you pointed out, they're the ones who suffer the most when anything like this happens. And already we're hearing some of them talking about having to choose between social distancing or lockdown and starvation. It's that unjust, isn't it?
It's a very difficult and challenging situation for a lot of people. So if you imagine that you were in Burkina Faso, where we have seen a huge amount of displacement over the past year as a result of extremist violence and insecurity, and you've left your homes and you're trying to survive through humanitarian assistance, then onto that comes the need for you to maintain social distance and to keep away and not be sure of where you're going to have your next meal. That then becomes quite a very difficult decision to make. And that is what a lot of people around the world are faced with.
The situation in Burkina Faso, just to let you know, it's being featured in our Reporters programme here in France 24 this coming weekend, looking at those issues that you've just outlined, George. This pledge from the G20 agriculture ministers that they will try to provide for those who haven't got the food that they require. Do you have any faith in that?
What we've seen around the world this time, especially from our donor partners, as was mentioned by the executive director of the World Food Programme, is that a lot of people are coming together. They're realizing that what we are witnessing is a global situation, and it's in an interconnected world where we must be able to work as a chain. And therefore, there are a lot of promises that are coming through, and we are hoping that these promises will bear fruit and that we shall see this support coming to some of the poorest nations in the world.
I think everybody watching and listening to you, George, will back those words. I certainly will. George Fominyen from the World Food Programme, thank you so very much for giving us your analysis here on France 24. Thank